Hello and welcome to High Vibe Astrology. This is Jennifer. Happy New Year. I am actually recording this on New Year's Day, 2024. I'm back with part 3 in the series on healing the collective shadow, where we're looking at the dance between Pluto and Sedna, the trine that will be going on until the end of 2025, and just wrapping up with a wider trine in the beginning part of 2026. But definitely we will be feeling this throughout the next few years. And this video is going to address the energy and message of Sedna. And we will be looking once again at the similarities between Sedna's discovery chart and Pluto's discovery chart. Pluto representing the alchemical fire and Earth's baptism by fire, and how that impacts the healing of the collective shadow. And in this video, we're looking at Sedna's connection to water, what it means for us as human souls in a physical body, and how we can contribute to the healing of the collective shadow by doing our part. I also plan to create a part 4, which will look more closely at each individual sign, the areas of life impacted by both Pluto and Sedna during this trine. And you can look up the themes for your sun sign, rising sign, or moon sign. That is not something I intend to address in this part 3, but I will create that part 4, and there will be frequencies for that as well. Many of you who tune into this channel already know that I wrote a book on Sedna, The Return of Planet Sedna, Astrology, Healing, and the Awakening of Cosmic Kundalini. So if you're new to this channel, I invite you to check out that book because it does involve a lot more details than I will be going into in this video. But this video will be addressing those parallels between Pluto's discovery chart and Sedna's, and that includes Leo rising. And because the discovery chart has Leo rising, we look to the sun and the position of the sun for more information on what it means to integrate those energies. We will be looking at the Taurus North Node in the 10th house, and of course, the Scorpio South Node in the 4th, along with the sun that is conjunct the South Node, Jupiter's close aspect to Mars, Saturn's connection to the 6th house of health and daily affairs. And last but not least, we are looking at Sedna's prominent position on the midheaven and what that means. So before I go through these points, I want to share what's been coming through in terms of this whole series on the death and rebirth of the ego, which is what the Scorpio journey is all about. I associate Mars with the symbol of the scorpion, Pluto with a symbol of the phoenix, and Sedna with a symbol of the eagle. Scorpio is the only sign that has 3 symbols, and there is great significance in that in terms of our own evolution and the stages that we go through as we heal our own individual shadow, as well as how doing the individual shadow work is helping to heal the collective. Many of those who have strong Scorpio in their chart, whether it's Sun in Scorpio, Moon in Scorpio, Scorpio rising, or Pluto on an angle, these are very prominent experiences astrologically that really bring up shadow work. And there are many light workers on this planet who willingly took on an advanced soul curriculum for the sake of helping to transmute negative energy and patterns on this planet. So most of you who tune into this channel and resonate with my message are those who know firsthand how challenging the light worker's journey can often be. Those who came here feeling commissioned by the universe, those are the souls I'm talking about, that know from firsthand experience what it means to be a transmuter of powerfully dark energies. You actually are meeting up with those energies firsthand at the soul level, transmuting them, and then returning those energies to the collective, more purified. This is not easy work I'm talking about, not easy work at all. Most of the time, the ego part of ourselves seeks to experience a more normal, quote unquote, lifestyle. We set a goal for fill in the blank, whatever it is. And yet, when we take steps towards that goal, the universe presents another path or a detour that seems to take us 180 degrees away from that particular goal. And it doesn't mean that we won't reach it. As one astrologer put it to me, delay is not denial. But the delays that seem to plague our path are meant to season us as souls who came here with a greater mission, a mission to serve the collective and to master the human experience, which means not my will, but divine will be done. So when we're talking about Sedna's energy, we are talking about a higher octave of Pluto. Many might look at the light worker's life and say, you're not practicing the law of attraction correctly. You don't have the right mindset, or you don't believe in yourself or your abilities, etc. In other words, we wind up feeling completely invalidated at the core of our being by the world around us or by the community or family we were born into. But there's a reason for that. When a soul experiences the death of the ego, it's never a one and done experience. There is a dissolution process that takes place. And this is where Sedna and her connection to water comes in. And it has to address every single preconceived notion of what we think we need and who we think we are in the tangible, visible 3D reality. And if it isn't surrendered during Pluto's transit, it will be completed with Sedna's influence. It doesn't mean we'll never be happy, light workers, or that we will never reach our goals. So please don't despair. It's quite the contrary, and I'll get to that in just a minute. But getting back to the complete dissolution of the ego, it reminds me of two of Yeshua's teachings. The first one is when he says, anyone who seeks their life will lose it. Anyone who loses their life for my sake will find it. And the second one, the greatest one among you is the one who serves the most. This act of service is paramount, especially with regard not only to healing the shadow, but fulfilling Sedna's destiny of the light worker. This is not referring to the acts of service performed by hypocrites who announce their good deeds or set up a non-profit organization and hold fundraisers for everyone to contribute to and say, look at how much I'm helping people in need. What I'm talking about are those acts that go completely unnoticed. This is Sedna's message and Sedna's type of service and her promise of limitless abundance to those who practice this type of behind-the-scenes service to humanity and to the planet. When we experience a Pluto transit, Pluto's alchemical fire is blatant and obvious. You will never be the same. There's a very distinct death and rebirth that occurs. When it comes to Sedna, there is a slow erosion. Just think of the waves upon the sand or giant waves crashing up against the rocky beaches that over time completely change the landscape. And it's the same. Sedna will change the landscape of your life, but it's more subtle because we're talking about water. It has to do with acknowledging who you really are at the deepest level of your being. Yes, Sedna will take you to the depths of despair, loneliness, and abandonment. But once you surrender to your transformation, both by Pluto's fire and Sedna's water, you are met with your own immortality. You realize that nothing that happens to the physical body or in your physical world can destroy you, the infinite soul that is forever connected to the Creator. Sedna's message is helping us all remember who we truly are and what our true divine inheritance is. She is reminding us of what abundance and the nature of abundance truly is. She's helping us remember what constitutes true wealth, and it is the eternal nature of the human soul. From that space and place of acknowledgement, we are infinitely supplied for every circumstance, one day at a time, one moment at a time. And that is how we stay fluid with life. This reminds me of yet another one of Yeshua's teachings. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves the treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in or steal. This, I feel, goes to the heart of Sedna's message. Her abundance represents the well that never runs dry. Sedna is the Divine Mother who provides unconditional love and healing to all of her children, even those who are responsible for her violent death. And this is analogous to the violence that occurred for multiple millennia on this earth. But the earth is ascending and is inviting us as her human family to ascend with her. And so I have to mention yet another one of Yeshua's teaching, which states, "It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter the kingdom of heaven." And I need to clarify here that I am not criticizing or bashing those who are financially wealthy, because it is not money itself that is the problem. It is our attitude towards or our attachment to money that is the issue. If financial wealth is all you live for, then you'll never truly know the riches of heaven. But if you understand that heaven is the source of all your wealth, you will always be abundant, no matter what your bank account says. Everything is energy, and all the ascended masters were alchemists. They knew how to instantly manifest whatever they needed or whatever the people they were serving needed. But it all took place in the moment, one experience at a time. They weren't creating things to store up for themselves or others in times of need, because they knew there was nothing to fear. They had already overcome their worst fears. When we learn to be happy, or at least at peace and content, no matter what the circumstance, then we are on the road to mastery, and we are understanding more fully and more deeply what Sedna's message is, especially with regard to healing and transmuting the individual shadow, and by consequence then, the collective shadow. The lessons of Scorpio and its opposite sign Taurus, each one representing the shadow of the other, have to do with the lessons of what constitutes true wealth. Taurus energy, as the shadow of Scorpio, is about acquisition. Scorpio's energy, as the shadow of Taurus, is about elimination and loss. Taurus represents all things physical, visible, things in the tangible world, things that we can experience with our five senses. It's very sensual in that way. Scorpio, on the other hand, represents what is hidden, the spiritual, the mysterious world. Scorpio does represent sexuality, but it represents that part of sexuality that is intangible, the union of two souls, whereas Taurus represents the union of two physical bodies. But both must be acknowledged. The two have to be brought back into balance, and this usually requires a profound experience or several experiences of what it means to lose. When you lose something, you gain spiritual perspective or soul's perspective on your life. We are graduating as one human family from an age where we've been conditioned by, quote unquote, all that glitters in the age of Pisces. And in this previous perspective or lifestyle, we've given our true power away. We've given away our connection to the divine for the sake of, quote unquote, all that glitters. material things, those things that we store up and that are subject to spoiling. So now it's time to literally resurrect our true source of power, to reconnect with our divine and immortal soul, and to live as masters upon this earth. And this means that the greatest one among us is the one who serves the most, who serves the true master, not the master of the material realm, but the master as in the divine creator, those who live, swim, and have their being in the well that never runs dry. Those are the ones who are ascending and attaining true mastery on this planet. It's not about abandoning this earth or abandoning our physical being. Far from it. It is really about living in this world while maintaining the proper perspective about wealth. Most of all, where Sedna's message is concerned, it's a poignant reminder that what sets us apart from other beings, certainly from AI, drones and clones, is our feeling nature. Because water is associated with emotions. It is our God-given gift to feel all that makes us human, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and to give it proper expression. The negative emotions like envy, anger, fear usually come from some form of comparison or competition that is related to having things, related to the tangible world. But this is feeding the ego, and this is the tail wagging the dog. The negative emotions that are stirred up when we compare ourselves or our physical world or life experience to others always comes up to be acknowledged, released, and healed. What Sedna's message is all about is feeling the full range of human emotion so that we can clean up the waters of our own consciousness, and by doing so, clean up the ocean of consciousness in our world and on this planet. And as we do so, we are resurrecting our own immortality. Sedna is showing us the way, but she's not doing it for us. We have to hold ourselves accountable for all that we feel and allow the real joy of living to be our guide. It's not in having things. It is the joy of giving as well as receiving. It's about staying fluid in that give and take. And it's about being in the flow of creativity so that our well never runs dry. This brings me back to my original thought about the lightworker's experience. How can we ever come to know our true, authentic nature if we are never faced with the challenges from the ego self? That reminds me too of the dance of fire and water, of the yang energy and the yin energy, the masculine and feminine, which is the dance of Pluto and Sedna. The heart is associated with fire, but it fuels the feeling nature because it is the spirit that animates life. And the feeling nature is associated with water. It's the emotions. So just like the kidneys represent the steam engine that fuels the rest of the organs in the body, we cannot physically survive without either the kidneys or the heart. So the emotion associated with the heart in Chinese medicine is joy, while the emotion associated with water and the kidneys is fear. So the kidneys are also associated with the essence of our ancestral inheritance, our genetic codes, and our DNA. So with Pluto and Sedna, we are working hand in hand to transform the ancestral patterns that have kept us in fear, kept us in a low vibration. And now it's time to balance these two energies so that we can truly know what it is like to live in joy. And this goes to the heart of the Leo rising in each one of these charts, allowing the sun literally to bring life into every situation with the understanding that life does not die, it merely changes form. So our own inner transformation is what brings a new life cycle into being. So to wrap up this portion before we move on to the astrology, Mars and the Scorpion represent the journey of the ego and setting goals and going after them. Pluto represents the ego's death by alchemical fire, transforming self-will into divine will. And it's preparing us for service to the greater community. And Sedna's transcendent energy reminds us again and again to let go of preconceived notions around who we think we are so that we can discover who we truly are as soul, connecting to the infinite source.